President reveals that he is the only head of state to declare his assets. Sri Lanka Medical Council seeks advice from the Supreme Court with regard to private medical universities. Prices of 38 types of optical lenses slashed. 25,000 rupee fine to be imposed for releasing domesticated animals in public spaces. Sri Lanka clinched victory of the first T20 match against Australia.
Good evening, it's Friday the 17th and we are coming to you live and direct this evening on Primetime News. I'm Zola Outscourt.
And I'm Rahna Farouk. Let's start off with a look at your top story for tonight.
Starting off news from the President's diary this evening. President Maithripala Sirisena says that he is the only president to declare his assets. Now speaking at an event at Temple Trees, President Sirisena affirmed that it is the responsibility of everyone to act in a manner which ensures that the allegations made against the previous regime are not levelled against the incumbent administration.
The official ceremony enforcing the Right to Information Act was held at the Temple Trees under the auspices of the President.
There
is an issue with regard to discipline when it comes to politicians, state officials and the general public. The people didn't elect this government to do the same things that the previous governments did. What is the change in governance that the people require? On one hand, the people need to be given freedom and there should be democracy. On the other hand, there needs to be honesty, commitment and transparency among all those in governance. At a time when the people have elected a new government, it is the responsibility of everyone to ensure that the allegations that were made against the previous government are not made against the incumbent government. The score for the character called the politician is a complete 0 from 100. So how do we change that? How do we change the displeasure the people have regarding state officials? The wrongdoings of the politicians, the wrong political culture and the wrongdoings of the officials have led to that. That is where we need to change in order to build this nation.
The President also made a statement on his assets.
I have no issues regarding my assets. I must make it clear to you that I am the only president who has declared his assets to the people after being elected as the president. It is I. Even though I am the president, during the past 2 years I have declared my assets before the Elections Commission. They have never asked for it from me. It does not say anywhere that the president must declare his assets. I did so because of the respect and faith I have in this position.
Yet on to a story that made it to the headlines this evening. Now a decision has been reached to reduce the prices of 38 types of lenses. The program to reduce the prices was implemented by the Ministry of Health, National Drug Regulatory Authority and the Association of Vitreous Retina Specialists of Sri Lanka.
According to the Ministry of Health, the majority of retinal patients use lenses ranging from 10,000 rupees to 29,000 rupees. Addressing an event held to launch the National Health Policy for the Elderly in Colombo today, the Minister of Health shared these views.
And also, today I am gazetting the prices of cataract lenses, which will come down very much. From 30,000 to some certain categories come down to 8,000. So, and also now we have already, reduced, we have already decided to provide the stents for cardiac patients free of charge in the hospital. All these years they were to pay. And also in the future I will bring down the prices of them also. And also I have decided to provide all the health care, including the drugs, in the entire life for the cancer patients.
Addressing a separate media briefing at the Ministry of Health, Minister Rajendra Senaratne expressed these views on the tobacco industry.
We have imposed a 90% tax on tobacco. This is the highest taxation in the world. The heads of the tobacco company came down to Sri Lanka to stop this. They tried to influence me. They said that their profit would be just 1% and that they would be forced to shut down. There was opposition in the cabinet as well. However, our president stood firm and said, let them shut down if they want. He said that he did not take over control of this country to fix the budget deficit by using the 100 billion from the tobacco company. He said he took over to get the people of this country off cigarettes. This is the difference. The former president was on the side of the tobacco company.
The Sri Lanka Medical Council convened today and reached a decision to seek a Supreme Court interpretation with regard to private medical colleges.
The meeting took place at the Sri Lanka Medical Council premises. Taking into account the welfare of the patients, we have decided not to accept the decision given by the Appeals Court on the 31st of January. We have also decided to make an appeal to the Supreme Court for a more reasonable solution.
The motorcade organised by the Inter-University Students' Federation together with other student movements against private medical colleges reached Colombo from 5 different locations.
As a result of this protest motorcade, Galle Road was closed from the Galle Face roundabout for several hours this afternoon. The motorcade reached Colombo Fort and the protesting students converged there, prompting law enforcement agents to close one lane of the Olcott Mawata for a short period of time. The protesting university students held a meeting opposite the Fort railway station and then dispersed.
In news from courts this evening, a fundamental rights application filed by Attorney-at-Law Nagananda Koditwaku was dismissed by the Supreme Court today. Now, the FR application was filed challenging the legality of a recent statement made by Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe in Parliament with regard to the Singarasa case.
The council, appearing on behalf of the Prime Minister as well as the Deputy Solicitor General who appeared on behalf of the Attorney General, took up preliminary objections in regard to the maintainability of the application. Both councils submitted to court that the statement made by the Prime Minister in Parliament cannot be challenged in a court of law in view of Article 67 of the Constitution, read with Section 3 of the Parliament Privileged Act. Both councils further submitted that the statement made by the Prime Minister will not fall within the ambit of the executive or the administrative action. The petition was dismissed by a bench comprising of Justices Priyasad Dep, Upali Abiratna and Anil Gunaratna. Attorney-at-Law Nagananda Koditwaku appeared in person, while President's Counsel K. Kanagiswaran and Niranjan Arul Prakasam, instructed by Attorney-at-Law G.G. Arul Prakasam, appeared on behalf of the Prime Minister. Deputy Solicitor General Viraj Dayaratna appeared on behalf of the Attorney General.
I took my oaths as President on the 9th of January 2015. 24 hours after that, on the night of the 10th, at around 9 or 10, I arrived at the official residence where I resided as the former Minister of Health. It was then that I was visited by the individual who held the highest position in our country's judiciary. I thought he had come to wish me, but instead he said that he had learned that he had been removed from his position. He went on to say that he was ready to serve me in any manner that pleased me. That means he was ready to deliver verdicts based on my whims and fancies. I need to mention this incident. That is because this shows how judgments were made before I occupied the seat of President. At that time, for me, that was a whole new experience. Only 42 days had passed since I stepped down as a minister and then went on to become the President. At that juncture, when the head of the judiciary came up to me and said that he is ready to act according to any of my commands, it made me think about how the world and society has been built. I was able to reflect on the fact as how different the world actually is compared to how we perceive it to be. I then told him that we had not made a decision as to whether he would be kept in that position or not. He then left. The next day, like clockwork, he was back at the same time without a prior notice. Once again, he pleaded not to be sacked and that he would act according to my wishes. It was at that time I was compelled to make a decision. Even if I had no issue with regard to the individual or his position before, it was then that it dawned on me that his continuation as the head of the judiciary will cause a huge obstacle to the independence of the judiciary. It was then that I decided to sack him. That was the first instance I used the executive powers of my position. Certain people question us as to what we have done as a government thus far. But it is important for all of us to realize the methodologies that used to be practiced in this country and how those methods have changed as of now.
බොහෝ පැහැදිලි ලෙස අපි කවුරුත් තේරුම් ගැනීම අවශ්‍ය වෙනවා.
There is speculation that authorities are preparing to impose a strict fine of 25,000 rupees against those who leave dogs abandoned in the streets.
Data from the Ministry of Health has revealed that when compared to the population in the country, there are 7 dogs for every person in the country. Although the numbers include dogs being kept as pets, a majority of dogs are found in the premises of schools, hospitals, public spaces and in the streets. Last year, 24 deaths were reported as a result of rabies. Stray dogs and other animals are let loose in public spaces. I hope to introduce a cabinet paper to impose a Rs 25,000 fine or a prison term of 6 months against persons who abandon animals in public spaces. According to the law, if a dog is not registered, there are provisions to put it down. I have no desire to kill animals. However, as a country, we need to have a mechanism to move the dogs that roam in schools, hospitals and trade complexes to other areas.
Transport trade unions point out that proposals have been made to increase the 25,000 rupee motor traffic fine to 50,000 rupees.
On the 3rd of December 2016, a special committee was appointed on the instructions of the President to look into the issues that had arisen with regard to imposing motor traffic fines. The committee comprised of the secretaries to the Ministries of Finance, Transport, Justice, as well as representatives from the Police and the Motor Traffic Department. The committee has compiled an initial recommendations report. It has been proposed that the fine for first-time violators for driving without a valid driving licence, which currently exists between 3,000 to 6,000 rupees, be increased to 30,000 rupees. It has also been proposed that second-time violators be imposed a fine of 50,000 rupees. Meanwhile, proposals have been made to increase the 12,000 rupee fine for employing an individual who does not possess a valid driving licence to a maximum of 50,000 rupees. The current fine for driving under the influence of alcohol is 7,500 rupees. Now proposals have been made to increase this fine to 30,000 rupees. In addition to the fine, a prison sentence not exceeding 3 months and a suspension of the driving licence not exceeding 1 year will also be imposed on violators. If the death of a person is caused in a motor accident while under the influence of liquor or banned substances, a prison sentence of between 2 to 10 years, a cancellation of the driving licence and a fine of 150,000 rupees has been proposed. While the fine imposed at present for inflicting injuries in the course of a motor accident is 15,000 rupees, it has been proposed to increase this fine to between 50,000 to 100,000 rupees. A brand new proposal has been made that if minor injuries are inflicted in the course of a motor accident, a fine of 50,000 rupees and a prison sentence not exceeding 1 year be imposed. Proposals have also been made to impose a new fine for motorists who drive across railway crossings in a careless manner. It has been proposed that a fine of 30,000 rupees be imposed for first-time violators, a 40,000 rupee fine for second-time violators, and a 50,000 rupee fine and a prison sentence not exceeding 1 year be imposed for third-time violators. Proposals have also been made to increase the fine for driving without a valid insurance cover, which currently stands between 5 and 25,000 rupees to between 25 and 50,000 rupees. The fine for driving at high speeds will be imposed as a percentage of the speed exceeding the limit and will be in the range of between 3,000 and 5,000 rupees.
Former Defence Secretary Gotabaya Rajapaksa arrived at the Police Financial Crimes Investigations Division today.
Gotabaya Rajapaksa arrived at the police FCID in order to provide a statement with regard to obtaining gold from the customs to be used in the casting of a statue that was deposited in the Sandahiru Saya. You will have to ask that from those who speak about it. I will refrain from commenting on the matter. No, they are not. Here is the minister himself.
Minister of Local Government and Provincial Council Faiz Mustafa has handed over the Gazette notification pertaining to the delimitation report to the Ministry's Secretary to be sent for printing.
A communique issued by the ministry notes that the Gazette notification was handed over to the Secretary of the Ministry, Kamal Padmasiri, this afternoon.
The 19th model village under the Yalipividenu Udagammana program was vested in the public today.
This model village, which was constructed in Devagiriya, Vilgamur in the Mathale district, has been named as Jaya Vijayagama. The village, which comprises of 25 houses, is equipped with all infrastructure facilities. On the sidelines of the model village being vested in the public, equipment worth 2.4 million rupees was donated to 316 youth in the area. Recently, the joint opposition removed themselves from institutions involved in the formulation of the new constitution. I am not surprised by this move. That is because with the introduction of the new constitution, you will be rewarded with the right to information. In the past, we saw an era of information being concealed. They hid everything and robbed the country. Now, with the Right to Information Act, the people in the village will have access to information such as who built the road in their village and how much funds were allocated for it. They will also have access to information such as who is responsible for the construction of the road, the source of the funds, what tender procedures were followed in awarding the contract to the contractor. Did the contract go to a closer eye of someone? All this information will be available to the public. However, the joint opposition is against this. That is why they removed themselves from the institutions involved in formulating the new constitution.
A media briefing was convened today by the trade unions that support the joint opposition. Vasudeva Nanayaka expressed his views as the Secretary of the Democratic Left Front.
8 complaints have been lodged at the Bribery Commission. The first complaint was against the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister is a defendant in the bond scam. Corruption cases should be filed against him immediately, according to the bribery law in the country. If a false complaint is lodged against a person, action can be taken on the person who lodged the complaint. We ask the Bribery Commission to present the charge or to examine the complaint against the Prime Minister.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe says that Sri Lanka is prepared to convene a summit of all relevant parties in a bid to discuss measures to establish peaceful and free maritime movements within the Indian Oceanic region. The President made this statement at a dinner held last night, concluding his 4-day visit to Australia.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe attended the dinner of special guest at the Law Faculty of the Deakin University in Australia yesterday, where he delivered the keynote address. The Prime Minister's address was based on the theme of free maritime movement in the Indian Ocean region. While saying the best way to address the issues arising within the Indian Oceanic region is to introduce a set of ethics for vessels, the Premier noted piracy within the region will also be given scrutiny. He added a special mechanism should be devised to transform the region into a peaceful one in consideration of all the factors.
Today was day 2 of the Trincomalee consultations that is aimed at creating a forum to discuss about the issues surrounding the maritime sector around the Bay of Bengal.
The event is organized by the Pathfinder Foundation, and today's forum was focused on the importance of the Trincomalee harbour.
Now, Sri Lanka was not just a trading location in the history. It was termed as an emporium. We heard this word being mentioned even yesterday. Now, why it was an emporium? They say from Persia to China and back took about 3 years those time. However, they found if you store your items in Sri Lanka, you can cut down that distance by half. That is 1.5 years. You can imagine the time it has taken for the traders to undertake that journey.
So, Colombo, the port is one of our greatest assets. It's a jewel in the crown, right? It's the 30th largest container port in the country. It's India's second port, right? It's India's second port, right? 64% of our economy is in the north-western province, the western province and the southern province, which are around Colombo, that's it, right? So most of the economic activity is over here in the south. I think that if we focus on the eastern Bay of Bengal, eastern side of the Bay of Bengal, western side of the Bay of Bengal, and think that the China directed traffic is going to be going through Hambantota. We won't be able to take part of that. But as the bay is developing, the pie is expanding, I think if you move fast, there should be opportunities. And move fast is the key word.
The Engineering Diploma Holders Association of the National Water Supply and Drainage Board says that the maintenance activities in certain areas have been hampered as a result of a trade union action.
The Engineering Diploma Holders Association and the Technical Officers Association of the National Water Supply and Drainage Board commenced a trade union action citing several reasons on the 9th of last month. They state that a number of issues have arisen as the authorities have deployed substitute officers to carry out the tasks that are usually carried out by them. They charge that serious issues have cropped up with regard to the percentage of chlorine in the water that was distributed last night and this morning. The Engineering Diploma Holders Association says that the percentage of the concentration of chlorine at the purification state should be at 0.8 and that it was at 0.2% yesterday.
We have not been able to carry out maintenance activities on almost 80% of the daily minor and medium-scale water leakages that are being reported. They have attempted to renovate the chlorine machines in the Ambatale purification plant with people who are not experienced. They have taken a long time to renovate it. The concentration of chlorine that was in the water distributed yesterday was below standard. There is no such issue. The people who are carrying out this strike might be trying to create unnecessary problems. There are a number of water purification plants around the Kalani River. We test the quality of the water about 10 times a day. The water board will be responsible for the water that is distributed. There are no issues with regard to the quality of water.
Welcome back to the news. On the second day of the National Law Conference 2017 yesterday, attention was drawn to various subjects, including how the legal sphere is viewed by an outsider.
The comments I am making are my personal comments because they can't reflect any official position given the subject. And I'm making these comments as the outsider or as more as the citizen and the outsider. Why, right, aren't there day-to-day trials? This is what the public think. This is what the average citizen thinks. This is what common sense tells you too. Because if you are studying something and then you have to restudy it, 4 months from now, and then restudy it again 6 months from now, and continue this process for 10 years, you're not only delaying justice or denying justice, you are also creating a lot of inefficiency. So why not? This is my question.
There is in our country at this time a certain lack of confidence in the legal system. The Honourable Minister pointed out laws delays, for instance. But there is another lack of confidence, and we see it in the demand of Tamil people for international judges when it concerns dealing with the past. We saw it, we have seen it now in the case of the Raviraj murder. What happened? So these are issues that we need to deal with.
Speaking at an event held today, Minister Patil Champika Ranawaka expressed his views on the powers of local government bodies that were taken over by the Urban Development Authority.
2 days back, UDA restructured its powers delegated to the local authorities in 1985. I have seen that few talk about this is as a negative move for some unknown reasons. But I am sure that many of you would appreciate the fact that this action is a positive move towards supporting the urban development process in this country. We are going to introduce modern technology to this process and thereby make it more efficient, accelerated and more importantly transparent. The development of all over Sri Lanka will be reviewed and planning clearances, building permits and certificates of conformity will be issued within a reasonable shorter period. At this point, I insist that we do things with a very good understanding and with good intentions. We have no secret pacts or hidden agendas. In next few years, Colombo and its surrounding will gradually transform into a new urban entity.
The graduation ceremony of the Gamini Dissanayake Technical and Vocational Training Institute in Nuwara was held this morning.
The ceremony was held under the auspices of the Minister of Plantation Industries, Navin Dissanayake, and the Pakistan Ambassador in Sri Lanka, Major General Said Shakil Hussain.
In this institution for 1 year is only the beginning for further development of your career. It is only the start of your successful journey in life. You must, with your own determination and effort, make sure that you go forward. I am sure that the 1 year training that you have got will help you to fashion your career, because at the end of the day, you have to make sure that your success is done by you and not anybody else.
One thing that struck me very clearly was that Mr. Gamini had a very loving heart. And the second great quality that this great man had was he could wield a team, he could collect a team, and he therefore produced so much on ground. Great leaders leave a mark in the life, and that is what Mr. Gamini did. Yours is a very blessed country. That this country does not have the crushing pressure on human lives as it is in the rest of the world, in the rest of the countries of the world. This is a very peaceful country. The peace you will have achieved at a huge cost and a great success. And I hope it is maintained.
100 technical students and 100 Montessori teachers graduated today and received their certificates.
And that's the wrap for Primetime News. For the News First team, I'm Rakhna Farooq.
I'm Zola Outschool. More news follows on our website, www.newsfirst.lk. Take care. Good night.